Welcome to Biology Made Easy. In today's lesson, we are discussing transpiration, its importance, and it has 6 great importance. Welcome. Well, what is transpiration? Simply is the continual loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant by diffusion down a water potential gradient. Why is it down a water potential gradient? It's because the water potential gradients here are low, high, and then it goes down very high. So right from the top, it's low, and as you go down, the water potential is rather big. That is why it's loss of water in the form of water vapor by diffusion down a water potential gradient. Now, the importance of transpiration is that transpiration creates a force, a suction that pulls water very fast from the roots through the whole plant. Now, the question is, if transpiration was absent, could diffusion alone, water diffuses here, osmosis takes water in, water is moving by diffusion and osmosis from cell to cell, and from cell to cell through the whole plant, it will take ages. So one of the importance of transpiration is that it creates a force that draws water very fast from this external source throughout the plant. Well, if transpiration was absent and water will have to move in by diffusion and osmosis, through all this, it will take ages. Now, what about this plant? Can diffusion and osmosis alone move water all through quickly? Even with a small plant, transpiration is important to pull water very quickly by the transpiration force throughout the plant. That is one great importance of transpiration. Now, besides that, water is needed for all physiological processes. These plants that we have, photosynthesis will need to take place in the leaves. Water is needed to be on the surfaces of the cells so that carbon dioxide that moves in dissolve in the surfaces of the cell walls and diffuse into the cells to be used for photosynthesis. So if water was absent, the carbon dioxide cannot dissolve in the water, and that bars the cells to diffuse in. At the same time, the photosynthesis process itself needs water. See, water plus carbon dioxide, the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll produces glucose. That's photosynthesis. So water is needed for all physiological processes, not only photosynthesis. Enzymes and hormones need to work in an aqueous medium, and transpiration produces fast water for the whole plant. Now, besides that, transpiration cools the plant. When water evaporates from the surfaces of the cells in the leaf, for instance, the water that is on the cell walls will take energy to evaporate, and the energy it takes from the cell walls and the cell is known as latent heat of vaporization, and by that cools the cells. So transpiration cools plants, it cools the leaves and ultimately cools the whole plant. That is another importance of transpiration. Besides that, we have water is very needed to remove waste from cells. Waste substances will have to dissolve in water. Well, in plants, waste substances move from the cytoplasm and enter into the cell walls to be stored. Some waste substances are also stored in the vacuoles, like pigments are stored in the vacuoles. Latex or gel needs to be stored, like in aloe vera. There are special tubes or cells that store the gel. For instance, this is aloe vera gel, and you see these are compartments in which these gels are stored. The gel is 95% water. So if water wasn't there, how could the gel be stored in these compartments? And this is it. It's a compartment that stores the gel, and the gel is stored in globules. And as we said, 95.5% of water. So water is very, very, very important to remove waste from the cell. Now, another importance of transpiration is it removes excess water. Very little excess water though, as water evaporates, water comes out in the form of water vapor, so some water goes off. And so it helps to remove excess water, but very, very little. Much of excess water that is removed from plants is through a process called guttation. Guttation is a process by which water oozes as liquid from leaves, and the water oozes from the leaves through the veinlets. So in the morning, in the garden, when the weather is very humid, transpiration is low, and so liquid water is forced out of the leaves, and you see water standing on the surfaces of some of the leaves, and that is by guttation. Otherwise, transpiration also helps to remove a little water. Now, besides these, because 98% of water absorbed by plants is lost by transpiration, the plant needs to have various adaptations, greatest amount of adaptations to reduce transpiration, especially in xerophytes. So the plant acquires various adaptations like hairy structures, thick cuticle. We talked about these, many of these adaptations in our lesson on adaptation to check or reduce transpiration. Well, this is what we have for today, the 6 great importance of transpiration. If you like the lesson, please give us a thumb and do subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.